up with friends for wine tasting at 850 Wine and Spirits. Plus, if you love sports, IP Sportsbook is where the action is, and now taking wagers. Better up.
IP Casino Resort and Spa. It's fun for everyone.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
This summer, take the road trip to complete your baseball stadium bucket list.
And when you do, stay at La Quinta by Wyndham Hotels,
where you can now earn and redeem Wyndham Rewards points at La Quinta and thousands of other Wyndham Rewards properties worldwide.
Plus, free bright side breakfast and the free high-speed Wi-Fi so you can stay in the work zone while you're away.
Well, with perks like these, you're going, gone!
Tonight, La Quinta. Tomorrow, you triumph.
Book direct at LQ.com.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 945. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brilliante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.
All sports, all the time. ESPN Pensacola, 94.5 WYCT Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5. We're also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K on this Friday, May 24th. It is 12:01, and we are ready to talk some football with you for the next hour. We're going to be joined at 12:15 by Mike Ryan. He is he's a columnist out in Arizona. He's going to be joining us again at 12:15 right here on Talk Football with Coach K. Kind of a different view of football, and obviously we're going to be able to get some more information on Kyler Murray and how things are going for him there with the Arizona Cardinals, as that's right in his own backyard where he lives. Some other news from around the world of football we're going to get to as well, and Coach will start it off. Nick Bosa, he's very young in his career with the San Francisco 49ers. As a matter of fact, just a little over 100 days into his career with the San Francisco 49ers and inside the NFL. Coach, he already is having injury issues. He has a hamstring issue that is causing him to sit out of OTAs. And, Coach, this is coming right off of him having to sit out, or choosing, I should say, to sit out all of last year with that core injury after having surgery on that. So it looks like Nick Bosa, not an injury that's expected to have him miss time this year, but still, Coach, a hamstring is one of those injuries that if you don't rest and recover from it properly, it's something that could bother him once the season gets here.
Yeah, they have a tendency to linger, and they're scary, especially when you have somebody that depends on that quick get-off to rush the passer and so on, like a pass rusher would. No, that's a little scary, and you just hope that, we've talked about before how somebody can be prone to injury, and let's just hope that's not the case with him.
All right, Coach, and as we continue to take a look at some news from around the NFL, Coach, it looks like Lamar Jackson is actually heard critics about his throwing motion and about how he plays inside the NFL, and apparently he has geared this offseason to revamping his throwing motion and becoming a better passer. Coach, is that something that you can improve on in an offseason, or is that skills that you either have or you don't have?
I think you can improve on them. This is a two-pronged answer. I do think you can improve on them, but I really think that the great passers were born and not made. Too many times we tried to make passers out of great athletes.
Right.
And, it just never developed. There's so many intangibles there. A feel for the game, the savvy, the anticipation, the arm strength, and and most importantly, the accuracy. It's just, there's something very, very special about being able to release the ball and put it in the window, especially when you get to the National Football League. So, I don't know. He can improve on it. I'm sure. Yeah, there's quite a bit you can do to improve. But does it put him in the category with Brady and Marino and Manning and those? No, it doesn't. He's a two-pronged athlete. He's more like a tailback back there, but he does need to improve his passing skills some.
All right, Coach, let's move now to some college news, as this is something that broke last night. Actually, around 11:30 is when this that broke. Coach, it's a little bit of a surprise. Athletic Director Ross Bjork, the athletic director for the Ole Miss Rebels, has announced that he is leaving Ole Miss after 7 years to head to Texas A&M. He is going to take the job that was left vacant by Scott Woodward when he left to go to LSU. So a little bit of an athletic director carousel going on here inside the SEC. Scott Woodward leaves LSU to go take leaves A&M to go to LSU, and now Ross Bjork is leaving Ole Miss to go to A&M.
Yeah, and that's an interesting move. It really is. But I don't see any. I don't see any major upheaval there because of it, but it is an interesting move there.
And in a statement released by Ross Bjork last night, he stated he is thrilled to, or Texas A&M stated that they are thrilled to welcome Ross Bjork to Aggieland. And Ross Bjork then stated, "I'm proud of the athletic accomplishments and the infrastructure improvements that they were able to make and achieve during the last 7 years at Ole Miss. But he's most proud of the student athletes, and they'll always believe they could achieve greatness in the classroom. And now Ole Miss athletics has the highest grade point average, graduation rates, and APR scores in the history of the program." So, Coach, as far as academics go for their athletic department, Ross Bjork really kind of changed things for Ole Miss. He can come into Texas A&M, do the same. We'll just have to see how he does as far as the things having to do with the sports go. All right, Coach, let's go back to the NFL now, because there is a list of Sports Illustrated put out this morning of teams that helped themselves the most or improved the most by the moves they made in the offseason. Coach, I want to go through some of these, because some of these you look at and you kind of understand there's a couple of teams on here that really did go out and make moves to better their team in the offseason. But there are some other ones, Coach, that they did make some moves, but maybe it wasn't exactly a move that helps them improve that much. Coach, we'll start out with the first team on this list. It's the Cleveland Browns. Coach, did the Browns improve their team this offseason? I know they went out and got Odell Beckham Jr. They got a couple of other pieces on the offense and defensive line. But, Coach, did they improve their team in the offseason?
They did. They improved their team. But, to me, this looks like something that should be tracking the ones that made the most impact or most improvement. And, of course, we won't know that for sure until we get into the season. But I think there's some teams that we could take a pretty good shot at right now. And Cleveland would not be at the top of the list, even though I think they improved some.
All right, Coach, what about the next team on this list? It is the New York Jets. Obviously, they had Le'Veon Bell, but they've had some turmoil the past couple of weeks. Coach, did the Jets do enough to improve themselves during the offseason?
They improved themselves with Le'Veon Bell, with Quentin Williams, their first draft pick, and probably with Case, the coach. But did they improve as much as some other people? They had some improvement. I think it's limited, to be honest with you. Limited improvement there. And there are other teams that made a bigger splash.
All right, Coach, let's head now to our next team on the list, and that, of course, is going to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. They add Nick Foles, Coach, and they get a couple of big offensive linemen to help them out inside the draft. They also get Josh Allen, the big defensive player from Kentucky, who's going to be a big player for that front seven there in Jacksonville. Coach, did they do enough?
I think they certainly helped themselves. There's no doubt about that. And Nick Foles is the biggest boom that they got there. I mean, you have to have a quarterback, and he's ideal if they can play defense and and let him just manage the game. Even though I hate that term, but let him play his type football and protect the football and so on. Don't turn it over, and keep the ball moving in certain situations. Put some points on the board. They'll be okay. I agree with you. I think they got a heck of a good pass rusher there. Now, there are a couple of people that you talk to that would say, well, he's slightly built, and he's going to run into problems playing on the run against the run.
Right.
And he's just a pass rusher. But if he's just a pass rusher, he's going to help tremendously. I think they did well getting the offensive lineman. So, yeah, I think they helped themselves. Absolutely.
All right, coming up next on our list, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Coach, some would say that because of the players they got rid of, they helped themselves. But, Coach, did the Pittsburgh Steelers improve this offseason?
I don't see the Steelers even being on the list. I mean, I could think of any number of teams that improved themselves more so than did the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, we're not going to know it for sure until the season. And you may be right. Maybe they ridded themselves of some problems, but at this point, I don't see that being the case at all.
All right, Coach, and coming up next, we've got the Miami Dolphins. They add Josh Rosen, chosen Rosen as the quarterback there, and a lot of Miami fans expect him to be the starter eventually, if not right away, once the season gets started in September. Coach, they also go out and get, and we talked about it yesterday when we had our guest with us. You were talking about it, and you kind of looked over their draft, and I think you said the first 4 or 5 picks you looked at, you expected for the Dolphins them to actually contribute and possibly even be starters right away. Coach, did the Miami Dolphins do enough to help themselves improve this offseason?
I think the Miami Dolphins did a great job helping themselves. Number one, I think the coach there will do a good job of instilling some of that New England-type pride and organization. And the way I've got it, I think they got an absolute steal getting Josh Rosen there, and with what they had to pay for him, all they had to pay for him. Plus, they saved some money, $16 million on the deal. I think if he had come out this year, most of the scouts that I've talked to and that I rely on say he would have been the number 1 quarterback in the draft this year if he had come out this year. Now, so they get him in the second round. They get Christian Wilkins, defensive tackle from Clemson, who's going to help them tremendously. He's going to play. Josh Rosen's going to be their quarterback. Didier's a good, big offensive lineman who's going to start for them from Wisconsin. Van Ginkel, the linebacker from Wisconsin, is probably going to start. And Isaiah Prince, the big tackle from Ohio State, has a good chance to start, too, even on the left side. So they right there, I mean, I really count 5 people there that are going to start for them off the draft. And then the other thing that I'm hearing, in the 7th round, they picked up Myles Gaskin, a running back from Washington that a lot of people thought was going to go much earlier. They think he's a pretty good running back. So, I mean, if they hit something there, along with those others, they had a heck of a draft, and they've really helped themselves.
All right, Coach, how about our next team on the list? We've got the San Francisco 49ers. They take Nick Bosa with the 2nd overall pick in the NFL draft. They also pay Quan Alexander big bucks to stick around. They're going to get Jimmy Garoppolo back at the quarterback position, who suffered a season-ending leg injury a year ago. But, Coach, the 49ers, did they do enough to improve this offseason?
Yeah, I don't put them at the top of the list on improvement. I think just by virtue of the fact that they're getting Garoppolo back is huge. Now, that had to happen. That's not a part of any maneuvering that they did,
right.
Either through the draft or free agency. I think they've helped themselves some, but to the extent that some other teams have, I don't think they're in the same category with Miami or with even Jacksonville or certainly the Patriots or the Oakland Raiders,
All right, Coach, the next team on the list is a team that, they needed offensive help, but they got everything but offensive help in the draft, Coach. It's the Green Bay Packers. Did they do anything to help themselves improve this offseason?
Well, they're saying that they helped themselves defensively. Now, we'll see. I don't think they had that big of an improvement in the offseason. And I think with the coaching change, they've got some upheaval to overcome there. So I don't think they help themselves.
All right, Coach, that is our last team that we are going to look at on this list. Coach, as far as teams off this list, what was a team that you would look at inside the NFL saying that they had a really good offseason and helped themselves? I know we talked about the Indianapolis Colts. You've also mentioned the New England Patriots. Who is that team that we did not mention off of this list as you look at that is a team that did a lot of improving in the offseason?
Well, I think you have to put New England and the Oakland Raiders. Look what the Raiders did in free agency. I mean, my gosh, they picked up a starting left tackle, one of the best in the business, who just finished winning a Super Bowl with New England. They picked up. They had a good draft. I think they had a good draft. And the people that they picked up overall improved that football team, I think, by a tremendous amount. And I think you're going to see that and see it pretty early. And the Pats, and I'm kind of hurrying through here, but the New England Patriots, I think, had an outstanding draft. Plus, they signed Jamie Collins back, a starting linebacker.
Right. Yeah.
Who's played for them before, which is another asset, and knows fits in well with their scheme and the other players they have there. So that was a win-win. And the people that they drafted, look, they needed the big receiver who has speed, and he can take the top off. Not only is he a big guy, can go up and catch the football, but he can also take the top off. He's got good speed, real good speed. I think he's going to be a real plus. I think them picking up the big, tall kid from Carolina is a big plus. And I think they ended up with 3 or 4 guys in the draft that I think are going to end up starting for them. Which for a team, now think about it, a team that just won the Super Bowl, you usually don't have that many draftees that come in and start for a team after they've had that much success. But that may well be the case with New England. I think they've helped themselves, certainly. I think the Giants helped themselves. I really do.
All right, Coach. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to take our first time out of the show. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Mike Ryan right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola 94.5.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Wings. Pick or bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings, still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees. Like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet, still just $20.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
At Indeed, we understand that when it comes to hiring, it's important to have a large talent pool to choose from. But sometimes too many good options can be overwhelming. That's why Indeed doesn't just give you access to a large pool of job seekers. We also offer screener tools that let you instantly narrow down your search. Hone in on hiring with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every dollar spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT, and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome back into Talk Football with Coach K. I am Jordan Glass, joined alongside me as always, Coach K. And Coach, we are now joined by a very special guest. Mike Ryan joins us here on Talk Football, so I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and let you do the introduction.
Yeah, we're very appreciative of Mike taking time to be with us on this holiday weekend, too. A little something about Mike I think that's very interesting. One, I should preface by saying he's one of the brightest people you've ever been around, and certainly has a broad bit of knowledge about pro and college football in particular, but sports in general. Mike is a former sports editor and reporter who covered sports nationally for Gannett News Service and somewhat for USA Today. As former vice president of the Arizona Republic, and at one time was the managing editor of the Pensacola News Journal. He's the author of Make Your Career Go Boom, a book that's not bust, that is available on Amazon and is doing quite well. He's also the president of Ryan Media Consultants. So with all that having been said, Mike, I appreciate you coming on with us.
Hey, Kay, it's my pleasure.
All right, we're going to get started right away, and a couple of questions here that obviously somebody in Arizona. We've got right away a report on how the Cardinals are doing with Kyler Murray and what that looks like out there right now.
Yeah, it's interesting because the Cardinals are one team that really, if you talk about putting all your chips on the table, the Cardinals certainly did this during the offseason. I mean, it's bizarre to think that Cliff Kingsbury went from having a 35-40 record at Texas Tech, getting fired, to going to become offensive coordinator at USC to help Clay Helton stave off him getting fired. Then a month later, ending up as coach of the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, it's just an incredible story. They talk about the Peter principle and falling forward. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is example number one there. So it wasn't really any surprise when Steve Keim, the general manager, and Cliff Kingsbury decided to roll the dice and recruit Kyler Murray because, as you know, Kay, and I'm sure your audience knows, Cliff Kingsbury's had an infatuation of Kyler Murray when he was back in high school. And so he just wasn't able to get him to come to Texas Tech. So he likes that style, and now I think you're going to see the Arizona Cardinals trying to make it happen. So in a lot of ways, they've botched a bunch of different situations. I know earlier today you were talking about Josh Rosen, who, they had drafted just a year ago from UCLA, actually moved up in the draft to get him. And then because of incompetence on the Cardinals side, not being able to get a deal done until during the draft, they ended up, ending up with a mid-round, second-round draft pick and a fifth-rounder.
Yeah, well, it's been an unusual trip, like you say, and there are many, many facets of this that we're not going to learn until later, I'm sure. But on the whole, everything is going along as you would expect with the Cardinals. No problems with players or coaches leaving or anything else, huh?
No, I mean, the thing about it is they've just been conducting their OTAs, and it's interesting. Kyler Murray may have had a better offensive line at Oklahoma than the offensive line he's going to have in the pros with the Cardinals, because the Cardinals last year's offensive line was abysmal, And poor Josh Rosen, there were games he was just getting the crap beat out of him. So that's what Kyler Murray was talking about this week, is how important the improvement of the offensive line is going to be, because if the Cardinals are going to do anything in the NFC West, the offensive line, which was a lot of injuries last year and a lot of poor play, is definitely going to have to step up.
Well, there's no question about that. Speaking of the NFC West, give us a rundown there, Mike, on the NFC West.
You know, it's interesting because I just don't really think there's a lot of strong teams out there as much as you would imagine. I think the Rams last year had a great run making it to the Super Bowl. I expect that they may fall back a little bit this year. Seattle, it's interesting because they poured a lot of money into keeping Russell Wilson. But, you know, statistics show you now that the teams who have the highest paid quarterbacks tend to be teams that don't make the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting because, you know, will the Seahawks have to give up other players, which they've already shown in making the deal with the Kansas City Chiefs, being able to keep a core unit, a core group of players around? Teams today seem to really benefit by having quarterbacks in their first few years when they don't have to pay them the huge amount of dollars that you do have to pay when the players come to salary arbitration. And then I think San Francisco, I know you talked about them. You know, how good is Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, he looked good, you know, in his chances in New England when he got a chance, you know, the very limited time. And he started off strong in San Francisco, but we've never really seen him play on a consistent basis long term. So how good are the Niners going to be? So I think there's a lot of questions in the NFC West. I think the Rams would probably be still considered the favorite. But, I mean, I think all four teams, you know, could show some signs of weakness.
You know, I couldn't agree with you more. I think the Rams may take a step back. I think 49ers are going to be pretty good. I like Garoppolo. I really do. And I think he's got that sixth sense, that football savvy that I like to see in a quarterback. And so I think they're going to do pretty good. There should be a tight race out there. You're right, between San Francisco, Seattle, and the Rams. Those are three real good football teams, and of course we don't know how much the Cardinals are going to improve, but there are three teams there that should be in the running.
Yeah, and it will be interesting because, I mean, Kyle Shanahan, you know, in San Francisco has now a real decent quarterback in Garoppolo. If he can stay healthy, then the 49ers, you know, could really challenge in that division. The Seahawks, you know, after kind of purging out a lot of players last year, getting rid of players such as, you know, Sherman, now we'll be able to see, you know, in the second year with this kind of a new core, will they continue to be strong? But I think they're all going to be wanting to feast on the Cardinals because they'll each play them twice a season, and they're going to be victories that, you know, those teams are going to probably need if they're going to end up winning the NFC West.
Well, that's true. Listen, being out west there, a little closer to what's going on, I'm going to hit you with a couple of others, then we're going to move all over the league and some college. But let's talk about the AFC West. I think the Raiders improved. I think their football team, now whether they can sustain it from a coaching standpoint and a morale standpoint and a discipline standpoint, I don't know. But that AFC West is going to be a dogfight too.
Yeah, it will be, because I think starting off, let's start with the champion last year in the AFC West, Kansas City. You know, Patrick Mahomes really showed what an incredible talent he is. But you think about the talent loss that they had, because not only, you know, did they lose their running back, but with Tyreek Hill's situation now, you know, do they have enough talent that will be able to really help support Patrick Mahomes? So I think that's going to be the interesting thing there. Defensively, you know, they fired their defensive coordinator, brought in Steve Spagnuolo who used to be with the Giants and was the St. Louis Rams coach for a bit. It's going to be interesting to see if he can improve the defense, because last year, as we all know, the weakness of the Chiefs was on defense. The Chargers showed, a lot of improvement. You just wonder how much longer Phillip Rivers can keep doing it. And then the Chargers really showed their areas that they struggle in and getting beat so badly in the playoffs in New England. You mentioned the Raiders. That's going to be interesting there because John Gruden, and Mike Mayock, they did some questionable moves in free agency, probably overpaying for Trent Williams. Will they be able now to, be able to put something together? Is Antonio Brown going to be able to step up and really be able to contribute? Will Derek Carr be able to show that he's the quarterback that the Raiders really need? So that's going to be interesting to see how that all shakes out. So I think the AFC West will be interesting, and then Denver. With Joe Flacco now coming in at quarterback. I mean, they've kind of in drafting Luck or the kid from Missouri. Will he be able to? Is he the future for the Denver, or is Joe Flacco going to be able to be the quarterback long term? Don't forget, one of Joe Flacco's best moments was in the playoffs at Denver when he threw the pass late in regulation that ended up winning the game for the Ravens over the Broncos.
Well, that's true, and that's going to be interesting. I think at some point Locke will be their quarterback, but they're going to have to depend on Flacco this year, I think. Now that West, you hit on some of the key potential problems there for the Raiders, along with the people they brought in. They brought in some probable or possible locker room problems too. Possible, I say. So we're going to see how Gruden handles that. And there's some big question marks. All right, I got to move on to some other things here, if you don't mind, Mike.
Sure.
A lot of conversation, like Mel Kiper jumps ahead, and the quarterbacks for next year. Of course, there's a lot of conversation in this area about quarterbacks because there's so many around here that are, once in a generation type quarterbacks. But he is projected the top three for next year as being the kid from Tua from Alabama, Justin Herbert from Oregon, and Fromm from Georgia. Now, there's a lot of question around here about Justin Herbert. We don't get to see him that much. I've seen a little of him. He checks all the boxes, but what's your observation there, and what's he thought about out west there?
I think that most people think that if Justin Herbert had came out in the draft this year instead of going back to Oregon, he probably would have been the quarterback the New York Giants would have taken, because Dave Gettleman, the general manager, really liked him, and he actually went out, I think, a couple of times to see him in person. So I think the Giants were disappointed when he decided to go back back to Oregon. So I think he definitely is a top-notch talent. He's got the size that you want in a quarterback. He seems to have the smarts that he has in a quarterback, and he really seemed to develop last year. It was interesting because he had been under Willie Taggart's system, but then with Mario Cristobal coming in to take over at Oregon, he seemed to flourish more in that system. So I think he's definitely one to watch, and I think as far as pro potential, he may be the one that the scouts in the end think is number one. But the one thing is, we know with quarterbacks, it seems like the few months leading up to the draft, there's a wave of momentum for a certain player, just like this past year. I mean, a year ago, if we were having this conversation, I doubt if we would have been talking about Kyler Murray being one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. But look what happened. So you just never know what's gonna take place.
Well, you're exactly right. And by the way, I think that's a strong point for Justin Herbert, that he is going back to school to finish his eligibility there and get that other year under his belt. I think that's going to be good for him. I think it shows quite a bit of maturity on his part. So that goes under the plus column too. Let me ask you about the Pac-12 in general here, and then we're going to have to take a break. But
sure. I think the Pac-12 is, has really fallen off in the last few years. The quality of play. I think that probably the most consistent team out here is Washington, and I think that has a lot to do with Chris Peterson, who had been so successful at Boise State, and coming in and taking over in Washington and really implementing his system. Oregon has shown potential. I mean, last year after the Willie Taggart 1 year fiasco, Mario Cristobal seemed to make Oregon a much stronger player, and also being able to recruit. I mean, the fact is, with all that Nike money that they have in support, Oregon is, seems to be back to almost the days when Chip Kelly was there, that it's becoming a strong place to play. The biggest weakness for the Pac-12, of course, as you well know, is in Los Angeles, because you have two teams, now with Chip Kelly starting his second year at UCLA after, even though it was his first year, extremely disappointing 3-9, and USC with Clay Helton's status certainly being up in the air. That's really not helping much as well. The two Arizona schools have been Herm Edwards is now at Arizona State. He'll be starting his second year. Kevin Sumlin is at U of A, University of Arizona, starting his second year. So, we'll see where they go. Then you've got the, Colorado and Utah, who, Colorado's been starting to show a little bit more improvement. Utah's usually a strong player under Kyle Willingham. And then the two remaining teams, Washington State's always good with Mike Leach. He'll have to find another quarterback, but he usually seems to be able to do that. And then the weak one of the bunch is probably Oregon State.
Yeah, that's usually the case. But listen, could you stick with us, Mike? I've got
Sure.
We got to take a break here, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Wings. Bigger bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings, still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees. Like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet, still just $20.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
Want to know my secret to make a great-looking lawn last even longer?
All it takes is a second feeding of Scott's Turf Builder Lawn Food. With a simple second feeding, your lush lawn is here to stay. Because a second feeding of Scott's reinvigorates lawns by providing nutrients, which helps prevent browning and withering as the weather warms.
My green grass isn't going anywhere.
This is a Scott's Yard. Pick up Scott's Turf Builder Lawn Food today.
The great thing about facts, they're proven. Like the fact that crude oil contains impurities, or that base oil made from natural gas is 99.5% free of impurities. and the fact that Pennzoil is the first synthetic motor oil made from natural gas, not crude oil. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil. Based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W30. Available now at Advance Auto Parts.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Back into Talk Football with Coach K right here on ESPN Pensacola 94.5, where we're also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WYCT and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. We now get back into our interview with Mike Ryan, so I'll turn it over to Coach and let him take it from there.
Okay, Mike, let's jump into some of the bigger headlines here back east. One would be the turmoil going on with the Jets right now. What do you hear on the inside with that?
I mean, it's amazing that the Jets have done the New York Giants a favor, because the Giants were getting roasted. Dave Gettleman was getting roasted for his selections in the first round, whether he should have chosen Daniel Jones in the 6th pick, should he have waited to the 17th pick. And then all of a sudden, people were starting to say, well, gee, the Jets seem like the more functional football team in New York. Well, the Jets said, we can't have that, so we're going to show more dysfunction. I mean, it was amazing to think about it. That Chris Johnson, the owner of the Jets, now his brother is overseas in London as an ambassador for a while for the U.S. So Chris is running the show, and why you would, if you were even contemplating making a change, why you would let the general manager go all the way through the draft and make selections and go through free agency and spend a lot of money only to fire him. And then, as it turns out, the coach that you replaced him with, Adam Gase, supposedly didn't want to sign Le'Veon Bell and didn't like some of the other moves. So, I mean, it's just the height of confusion and disruption that it's just incredible that the Jets are going through this. The only saving grace for the Jets is that they seem to have a quarterback who they seem high on Sam Darnold.
Yeah, there's more to that situation than meets the eye, though. I think, Mike, and the same with the Giants. I've got a little different view of it. I think Johnson had heard. There's no question in my mind that he had heard through any number of sources that there was some real problem with his general manager, okay? I do know that a very, very strong coaching candidate was offered the Jet job and turned it down because he was there, because the general manager was there. So that's one. There may have been another. That Johnson had to hear about that, why these coaches weren't coming. And he heard, I'm sure, with some other, in some other ways. And then the signing of Bell. And there's some real questions about this guy now. Listen, let me tell you, he's a heck of a football player, but there's some real questions about his presence in your locker room and some other things that they're question marks about, red flags, and they pay him all that money. So it's not out of the question to me that he went ahead and pulled the trigger on this guy, especially after he got Gates, and evidently he's got a lot of confidence in Gates, and so whatever the situation, I don't think he felt he could go with it any further. Maybe he felt he couldn't lose another coach. I don't know that to be true, Mike. I'm just speculating, but I do know that he's probably heard some pretty bad things about the about the general manager.
Yeah, no, Mike McKagan had, there certainly had been, rumors out there and that, that he was on thin ice. But, I mean, it's just amazing that, you go ahead and hire a coach and you let the guy go to, lead your draft if you're not satisfied with him. It's just almost like you would have been better off biting the bullet 4 or 5 months ago, making the change right after the regular season. But, I mean, you think of Adam Gase, who, loses his job in Miami, to all of a sudden, getting the job with the Jets, and then all of a sudden getting even more power being the interim general manager until they actually hire someone. So it's going to be interesting to see who the Jets hire. I mean, a lot of the speculation is Joe Douglas from the Philadelphia Eagles, but, is somebody going to want to go in and be the general manager when you really haven't had, you weren't there to select the coach? Because as you well know, Kay, that oftentimes is problems when a general manager comes in and inherits the coach, because unless they somehow have a symbiotic relationship, oftentimes the general manager is going to want to get rid of the coach and get somebody that he selected.
Well, Mike, I have an entirely different view of it than you. I hate to say it, but I do, and I've got reasons to prove it, but. Really, if you go back and look at the history of the National Football League and the true dynasties and the one that is in place now, who is the guy that runs it and runs it all? It's the head coach. Who do you think with the Packers was Lombardi, and Bill Walsh with the 49ers, and at Pittsburgh, the same was true. So anyway, just different strokes for different folks, I guess. But I want to move on. I think the Jets. I think he just ran into a situation where he didn't have he was going to fire the coach there from last year. They knew that, and he didn't want to get rid of everybody at the same time. Maybe I don't know. But anyway, it's a strange situation for sure. Now let's move to
it is, and it's certainly not. Good for the Jets in the short term. Whether they can, end up making a smart hire, get somebody in there who wants to be the general manager, and we'll see if Adam Gase can be successful in New York. I mean, the jury's certainly out with him from his performance in Miami.
Yeah, that's right. You're right, exactly. And I'm not pounding his drum at all. I just say that there's going to have to be a tight connection there between him and the person that they bring in, and an understanding on the calls on players and coaches and so on. Let's move to the Giants. There's been some speculation about the draft of the quarterback and whether they should have taken him with the 6th pick or wait until the 17th. I do know that another team most likely would have taken him at either 9, 10, or 11 had they not stepped up to take Jones. I think it was a good pick. I've done a lot of research on the quarterbacks, or as much as you can, being on the outside. But I think the kid fits the bill, but both from the intangibles and the measurables. So I hate. Yeah.
Oh no, I was going to say, because I know we've talked about this off air, and and you really had me sold on that Daniel Jones was the right choice. I mean, to be honest with you, I think Eli Manning in a lot of ways is overrated, because I mean the fact is the Giants in a lot of ways remind me of the Marlins in baseball. I mean, they had 2 great years when they won the Super Bowl, but the rest of it, and the Marlins, put together 2 years when they won the World Series. But, I mean, consistently, the Giants have been abysmal. And the fact is that, they haven't been in the playoffs. Eli has not really been that successful outside of the 2 years. In 1 year, the Giants were really kind of lucky to win the Super Bowl. They were 9-7 in the regular season. So I think it's time for the Giants to get serious about getting a replacement. And I remember being at Sun Devil Stadium when Kurt Warner played he started his last game for the Giants. And it was interesting because he got beat up that day, and then the following week, Tom Coughlin made the decision that he was going to make Eli Manning the starter. I think that, the Giants are going to have to bite the bullet at some time. Giant ownership is going to have to realize that, hey, listen, I know that they have deep affection for Eli Manning, and he's certainly a class act. Certainly, keeps his mouth shut. Has been able to thrive in a very tough New York media market. But they've got to start planning for the future. And so, at some juncture during this season, you may have to see that Daniel Jones is going to need to get a chance to play. Where the former coach really made the mistake 2 years ago, if you remember, when he wanted to bench Manning, was he wanted to start Geno Smith, where he should have put in Davis Webb, who at least then the Giants could have seen if he had potential. But, that whole thing was mishandled. But the Giants really need to, decide that, hey, they need to move on, and hopefully Daniel Jones can be the guy to do it.
Mike, I couldn't agree with you more. I totally agree with you on your assessment of Manning and what the Giants have to make up their mind to do. I think they have, and I think they found the quarterback that they want to go with. Surely he may have liked the Oregon kid more, but at this point, I think they had to make a move on a quarterback. So they did, and I think it's going to work out good for them. I think they had a pretty good draft.
And the other move that I really liked that Dave Gettleman did. Now you could question him giving Odell Beckham such a big, signing him a year ago. But the fact is, Odell Beckham is kind of like Le'Veon Bell, and there's some other players out there that seem to be Me Too people, and that they seem to be a distraction. And I think we're starting to see it already in Cleveland. That, I think Cleveland's going to be the most interesting story of the upcoming NFL season because it's so possible to be so combustible. And that Freddie Kitchens has got an enormous task trying to keep everything in play there. The other thing about Beckham is you could hardly keep him on the field. He's been injured the last few years. And so the worst thing that ever happened to Odell Beckham was making that miraculous catch against the Giants, the one-handed catch, because, it shot him into a stratosphere that, it wasn't really deserved. Because if you really watch a lot of Giant games, you see he drops a lot of passes. And he also does some dumb things. And as Giant fans certainly will probably never forgive him for the week before they go to have a playoff game in Green Bay, he takes some of the other wide receivers and goes on that boat trip in the Caribbean. It's like, be focused on the playoffs. And so I think a lot of Giant fans disagree, but I think getting rid of Odell Beckham was probably a smart move.
I agree with you. I really do. You hate to lose talent, but talent is one thing, but it has to be pieced together with the intangibles as well. And there are some positions that now seem to be more and more loaded with the divas and causing problems. But I couldn't agree with you more. I think it was a good move. And I really think one more, and then I'm going to let you go. I've kept you on a long time, Mike. As you look at the NFL as a whole, I really think the Patriots did a lot to help themselves. I really do. I think they have 4 or 5 people who are going to start, 3 or 4 people anyway, who are going to start for them. And when I say start, meaning they may be the kid from Wisconsin, may be, or Michigan rather, may be a pass rusher, but he'll be like a starter. And I think they really helped themselves.
I totally agree with you, Coach, because the fact is, number one, you were talking about, the power of position. And there's no better example than in New England with Bill Belichick, because he has shown over the years, he and the people he's surrounded with, I think, make a lot of smart moves. And I think one of the best moves they make is getting off players a year or two early instead of a year or two late, because especially in the NFL, because you end up paying, you only have a certain amount of room in your cap. And so you can't be allocating money to people who are aren't going to be as productive as they need to be because they really then will hurt your salary cap. And so I think the Patriots have really shown the way to go about it. And too many teams just don't seem to learn that lesson. They overpay for talent where they would be better off, really being more efficient and more effective in how they distribute the salaries.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Plus, strategic replacement of people and like bringing Jamie Collins back is going to be a real plus for them. Tell you a team that's following suit with New England right now, I think the Colts. They've got $100 million available to them on the cap.
Yeah.
So,
and you think how they recovered from not being able to, losing out on Josh McDaniels and then being able to hire Frank Reich. And I think they are really building themselves a strong team, and that's what you really need to do in the NFL is to follow the lead of the Patriots. And the Colts seem to be one of the teams that seem to be smart enough to do it.
Couldn't agree with you more. And listen, Mike, we're going to run, but I really, really appreciate your time, my friend. It's been very interesting. Thank you.
Hey, listen, all the best, Kay, and thanks again for having me on.
You bet.
All right, take care. Have a good
There's
weekend.
only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Wings are now on Beef O'Brady's 2 for $20 deal. Wings?
Wings.
Bigger bang, same buck. Pick a starter plus 2 entrees. Like 10 of Beef's famous wings, still $20. 2 for $20. Worth every penny.
Tower, this is Alpha Squad. Something smells mighty good up here. Who's hungry? Over.
Beef's 2 for $20. Pick a starter and 2 entrees. Like Beef's new chicken tender Parmesan skillet, still just $20.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
ESPN Pensacola 94.5, also on your HD radio at HD2 98.7 WICT and streaming on our website, ESPNpensacola.com. Welcome back into Talk Football with Coach K. I'm Jordan Glass, joined alongside me as always, Coach K. We are winding down today's show, and as we do at this point in every show, we want to say thank you to our wonderful sponsors, of course, Bob Tyler Toyota, Hill Kelly Dodge, Beefo, Brady's Tom Thumb, Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, Damien's Ice Cream, just a lot of great sponsors here on Talk Football that do a lot of great things here inside our community, and we do want to say thank you to each and every single one of those.
Absolutely, and we are very appreciative. And what you said about helping out in the community, really, if you took a look at all that they do, you could realize the quality of life in this community has a lot to do with some of the gifts and contributions and actions that some of our sponsors have taken here in the community.
You are absolutely right on that, Coach. Taking a look at some of the headlines from today's show, Ross Bjork, the Ole Miss athletic director, has decided to step down and leave the program. He's heading to Texas A&M to fill in the Scott Woodward opening, as Scott Woodward left A&M to go to LSU in April. So Coach Ross Bjork, at 46 years old, is heading to Texas A&M to be their new athletic director. An interesting situation forming inside the SEC.
Yeah, it is. It really is, with the athletic directors moving around. I don't see this as being making any big difference, but he has done a good job at Ole Miss. There's no question about that.
He has. He's done a fantastic job. And matter of fact, he's completely turned around their academic performance there inside the athletic program. So that's going to do it for today and this week's shows. Thank you so much for tuning in. And by the way, if you did miss that interview with Mike Ryan, it would be posted on the Talk Football podcast a little later on. You can find it on Spotify, SoundCloud, all those typical podcast sites. For Coach K, I'm Jordan Glass. You guys have a great weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday.
This is Pensacola's hometown all-sports station and home of the Blue Wahoos, ESPN Pensacola 945. Catch all the Wahoos games home and away all season, plus all the latest Wahoos news from Chad Brillante on the Sports Drive, 5 till game time weeknights. And hey, if your business would like to partner with us as an advertiser or with a local sports promotion, then give us a call at 850-262-6000 or shoot us an email from the advertise page on ESPNpensacola.com.